Welcome to Tuesday Live. I am Omini Odan, standing in for Cyril Stober, who is not able to make it on the program tonight. National unity and cohesion are cardinal principles for development since independence in 1960. National integration has been a top priority of governments across the tiers in Nigeria through various programs, some of which are the National Youth Service Corps Scheme, NYSC, the Unity Schools, and Federal Character Principle. However, the greatest challenge facing Nigeria is the threat to national unity, evident in forms such as ethnicity, hate speech, and agitations that undermine cohesion and peaceful coexistence. But before these would be a discussion on education, which is a vehicle for national development. This is so with alarming statistics of estimated 63 million youths and adults to be illiterate. The development, many argued, does not augur well for growth and undermines the attainment of goals like education for all. What is the way out and what are the best practices? Answers after this background report by Ahmed Ambali.
25-year-old Tassim Haruna is a classic case of the illiterate Nigerian. For 5 years, he has been chasing down motorists as a vendor in Abuja. The native of Kano makes a living selling newspapers to those who can read the headlines. Beyond the names of the papers he sells, Tassim can't read between the lines.
Since I don't have much knowledge about school, so if I can get any big business that will feed myself and even to share it with some people, I'm grateful.
He is but one of the many who make up the disturbing statistics of the 63 million illiterate youths and adults at different literacy levels in Nigeria. Only recently, Nigeria's Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, during the commemoration of the 51st International Literacy Day, lamented that Nigeria had continued to record 11.5 million out-of-school children. His cry at the highest level of governance goes a long way to show how much of a challenge this is. Coming at a time when a large share of children who are in school are not attaining the learning outcome benchmarks, the problem becomes compounded. Those who know say the implications of a growing illiteracy rate are already manifesting. Illiteracy combined with poverty majorly contributes to the churning out of a steady stream of disgruntled elements in society. Filling the literacy gap is imperative, and as such, experts have called upon the government to uphold her constitutional duties of providing equal opportunities to education for all citizens. This is even as it is expected to be actively committed to its pledge as a signatory to the World Conference on Education for All and the Sustainable Development Goals. A veritable starting point for changing the statistics is the establishment of adult literacy classes and vocational skills acquisition centers, the recruitment and payment of part-time literacy facilitators, the provision of teaching and learning materials, including facilities for ICTs, and logistics for monitoring and evaluation of mass education programs and centers, among other forms of support. The phenomena of out-of-school children in parts of the country, observers say, is real, and as such, they believe greater commitment to inclusive literacy is pertinent. National development plans for Nigeria to meet with other countries can only be sustained when education is made an issue on the front burner. Otherwise, the country, like Tassim, may just be playing catch-up to other countries for whom education is number 1, 2, and 3 on the priority list.
That backgrounder sets the tone for discussion on Tuesday Live tonight. And on today's program, we are looking at 2 segments of the program. The first segment will be on illiteracy implication for national development. At some point on the program, we'll go on part 2 of the program, which will be on the imperative for national unity and development. For the first segment, illiteracy implication for national development, I have a full house of educationists who have cut across the length and breadth of the world, not just Nigeria. For my far right, I have Professor Pai Obanya. Professor Pai Obanya is an international education strategist, also emeritus professor in the Institute of Education, University of Ibadan. Former chairman, West African Examination Council, and first national coordinator, Universal Basic Education, and also former UNESCO regional director for Africa. Professor Pai Obanya, thanks for joining us on Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
Also tonight, I have to discuss with us Professor Fatima Mohammed Umar. Professor Fatima Umar is former head of department and founding director, Bayero University, Kano, Gender Unit, former executive secretary, Kano State Agency for Mass Education, and current president of the Nigerian National Council for Adult Education. Thanks for joining us on Tuesday Live.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Also in the studio is Gidado Bello Ako, served as Director, Center for Adult Education, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, former Director, National Center for Adult Education, Kano, Advisor for Agencies of Mass Education for Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, and Sokoto States. Currently, he is the board chairman of the National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult, and Non-Formal Education. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Professor Michael Omolewa is also on set. He is also emeritus professor of University of Ibadan, former president, Nigerian National Council for Adult Education, former president, General Conference of UNESCO, and immediate past ambassador of Nigeria to UNESCO. It's a pleasure to have you on Tuesday Live.
Thank you.
Last but not the least, Professor Abba Abubakar Haladu, Professor of Adult Education, Bayero University, Kano, Pioneer Dean, Faculty of Education, and Head of Science Education Department, Jigawa State University, now Sule Lamido University. He is presently the Executive Secretary, National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult and Non-Formal Education. It's my pleasure to have you on Tuesday Live.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I said it's a full house. But before we sustain the discussion, this program has a tradition, which is at some point on the program, the phone number will be on screen and other platforms. When you call in and you see your name on the screen, just go straight to the point and sustain the discussion, and we'll plead with you as soon as you're put on set, turn down the volume of your television set to avoid a hallback. Well, a full house. But let me start this way. I hear that common sense is about the most uncommon commodity you can't find anywhere. Professor, is that true?
It is because people have a mistaken view of what is common. Usually everything in the world is complex, and when you oversimplify, you think it's common. So common sense is not as common as we think it is. It is a complex phenomenon.
I also hear somewhere, Professor Fatima, that if education is expensive, try illiteracy. Is it true?
That is true, very true. Illiteracy is about the most expensive commodity you can find around, because people who are illiterate they find doing most things difficult, and because they are unaware of so many things, they haven't information, even though information is readily available. But because they are illiterate, they cannot access that information. Therefore, an illiterate person is kind of, I wouldn't say an illiterate person is a dummy, but an illiterate person is one who is actually not able to access facilities around him or her, and therefore illiteracy is very, very expensive. Education, of course, is expensive, but you can say expensive in terms of maybe funds to pay for education, funds to provide education, but illiteracy is is an illiterate person is a person who is not liberated. And when you are not liberated, it's like you are in bondage. It's like you have so much to look out for. Even though what you are looking out for is around you, you may not be able to access it because of that bondage that you are in.
Okay.
So illiteracy is more expensive than education, right? Yes.
Good, we are discussing education here tonight, and education for all, the challenge of high adult and youth illiteracy. So let me start with Professor Abba Abubakar Haladu. What is the current situation in Nigeria?
Well, the available statistics, I read about 11 of these, indicates that about 62% of Nigerians are literate, thus suggesting that 38% of Nigerians are non-literate or illiterate, and that is about close to 72 million, if you like. So this coupled with the high number of out-of-school children, also the highest in the world, about 11.5 million. So we have a very big challenge as far as the burden of illiteracy is concerned. And perhaps that is why we're among the E9 countries, that is, the countries in the world with the highest number of population, but also harboring the highest number of illiterate citizens. So that is the situation as far as the illiteracy is concerned in Nigeria.
Okay, let me take on Professor Omolewa. Out of school children in Nigeria, huge figure. How can this, to what extent can this issue affect national development?
What happens is that for each child that is out of school, you are losing the opportunity of bringing that very child in to become a pilot, to become a politician, successful politician, to be an economist, to be a professional. That child that remains out of school is denying the country the potentialities for development. Once you keep that child out of school, then you begin to breed a social misfit. You begin to breed a potential danger for the society. Not only are you robbing the country of the opportunity of having a return for your investment, but you are also creating for the future generation the gross instability that will deny the country development. So out of school children, it's, you find the incidence of out of school children very sad, very gloomy, very frustrating. And if you can now focus attention on bringing the out of school child to the school, then you are on the way to making the country great again.
Okay, beautiful. Out of school, you talked about social misfit, potential danger. Some arguments out there in the public domain clearly shows that some of the geniuses we have in the world never went to school. How do you just oppose this? Is it all about going to school?
Not necessarily going to school only, but there are people who are geniuses, and they expose their genius nature, and they become better than even those who have gone to school. And but generally, these are very, very few and far between. But to actually utilize your potential and make your life and the life of the society and your country better, it is better. There are many people who go to school have got a better chance of doing that, and there are more people who, if they go to school, they become good citizens in their society. But I think if you, these are those who are geniuses and they have not gone to school, they are exceptions. And you can't work on just exceptions. So it is necessary that you take whoever you can take into school, into the schools, and then you will then tap their potential. If there is somebody who has never been to school and he comes out as a genius, well, that is a coincidence.
Okay.
But I think you should try to bring out the geniusness, or whatever you call it, in a person by putting them in school and getting them educated.
Okay, let me sustain this on Professor Fatima. I'm educated. I'm a mechanical engineer. And we have a mechanic on the street. He's not educated, but he's talented. And I went to school 5 years, graduated, and my car breaks down. And I call up this young man, and he fixes the car, yet I am educated. How do you compare the two?
Well, I wouldn't know how a graduate of mechanical engineering would not be able to fix his car when it goes bad. The fact is, fundamentally, as a mechanical engineer, you should be able to fix your car. And even if you cannot, it will not be because you haven't the capacity to do it, but maybe because maybe you haven't the tools to do it, or perhaps some other reasons. Maybe you are too dressed up, you don't want to mess up your dresses. So you call the roadside mechanic to do it for you, but as he does it, you know what he is doing. Sometimes you could even put him on the right track, you know, because some of these mechanics by the roadside, they learn by practice. They just do it and get lucky, and sometimes, of course, they get unlucky. But the mechanical engineer, he knows exactly what to do to fix whatever it is that goes wrong in a motor automobile. So if he cannot do it, it is not because he hasn't the capacity. Actually, that is my own opinion. Okay. But maybe for some other reason. And to add to what you asked about a genius who has not been to school, but he is a genius, I want to say that categorically, going to school is not about learning to read and write. It is not about getting degrees and certificates. Going to school is about being socialized, apart from, in addition to the academics, in addition to learning the profession, the area of specialization, the literacy, the ability to read and write. In addition, you also get socialized. You also, when I say socialized, I mean you also have, you are exposed to an avenue of actualizing your potential, bringing out your potential, mixing up with people from different backgrounds, and therefore being able to understand the world that you are in better than if and when you do not go to school.
Okay. So, I was actually trying to get to somewhere then. I think I'm almost there. Okay. Now, let me ask Professor Pai Obanya, who is an illiterate?
Okay, in answering, I would like to quickly deepen the discussion.
But the emphasis of the word illiteracy.
Yes, all right, yes. Well, the Nigerian illiteracy problem is further compounded by the fact that those you think are literate, a majority of them exhibit only what you call surface level literacy. That is, the literacy skills are not being applied to critical thinking, to making informed choices, to further pursuing the process of lifelong learning. And eventually, the sum total is that the so-called literate person has not been empowered to use literacy both for personal development and for contribution to social good. Then it's further complicated to when you say out-of-school children. There is a case, the instance of persons who are physically in school but psychologically out of school. That is, they are in school but they are learning nothing. And so you find in the entire country a learning crisis. So when you say this mechanical engineer cannot diagnose the problems with his car. It's a question of a learning crisis. If you say the products are unemployable, it's also a question of a learning crisis. So the problem has to be not just getting people in school, not getting people literate, but ensuring that literacy empowers them so that they become useful to themselves and to society. Getting people in school, but making sure that they don't simply pass through school, that the school also passes through them. Now, the question of the genius who did not go to school, as he rightly said, these are exceptional cases. But we should know something, that somebody has dropped out of school doesn't mean he or she has dropped out of learning. Because it is possible to get out of the formal school, as Fela would say, teacher, teach me nonsense, stop teaching me nonsense, and you go out into the world and learn sense. So there is a lot of knowledge, to be gained from the world out there. And to enrich what we do in the school system, the literacy system, we have to bring in this wealth that is in the world out there. And if you are training your future engineers to see how people do engineer in the world out there, and you'll be creating people who will use their engineering knowledge creatively. But we shouldn't, because of that, say, because I have an uncle who speaks good English, has never been to an English-speaking school, we should not teach children English. Please, by all means, let's not lose potential talents, not potential great inventors and innovators. Okay. Let's get everybody to school and learning. Now, who is the question you asked? The educated person. Simple. Do you say literate?
Illiterate, yeah.
The literate person is, as I was trying to explain, will acquire the basic literacy skills of reading and writing, not just at the surface level, because you can read along the lines, just as you can read across the lines and read between the lines. So if you get to the level where you can read between the lines and across the line, that is interpreting what you've read and writing for different purposes, which means there are so many levels you have to go through to really become a literate and an educated person. Okay. But that person who is literate is a person who has continued in a lifelong manner to improve on the uses he can make of his literacy. Okay.
From the line of thought we have thrown up here, it is clear that issues of mainstreaming, streamlining, synergy has played out now. So let me take on Professor Omolewa. Do we have a functional strategy in Nigeria to address all this?
Let me first of all draw attention to the issue we are talking about what constitutes illiteracy, who is an illiterate. You can know how to read and write and acquire some basic literacy, but you can become politically illiterate when you don't know how to mobilize the populace to achieve political gains. You can be economically illiterate when you don't know how to market your goods. You don't know how to sell and to prioritize. You can be socially illiterate when you are antisocial and you become a problem to the society. You can be spiritually illiterate when you don't know where you are going in life and you don't know how eventually you will reach your goal after life. So the illiteracy is not just school-centered. It's not just book-centered. It is also done non-formally. What you learn in the market, what you learn on the streets, what you learn while interacting generally, what you learn from your parents, what you learn from the community. So it's a basic issue. But let me address what you have said about where, you know,
we have a functional strategy to address the challenges in the country. Because from what we have all said, it boils down to mainstreaming, synergy, and to streamline. Yes.
Yes, that's what I think Professor Abba Haladu has been doing for the past 2 years or so.
So do we allow him to say so?
I will be so happy.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, first of all, let us not lose sight of the fundamental issue, first of all, the high illiteracy level. Large number of citizens who can neither read nor write, because that is the starting point, right? So, that challenge is there. There has to be a concerted effort by all, government, non-governmental, government at all levels, federal, states, and local, non-governmental organizations, civil society, and international development partners to ensure that opportunities are provided. First of all, to ensure that all citizens acquire at least basic literacy skills as the foundation for lifelong learning, in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 4. Target 6, that by 2030, all youth and substantial number of adults should be able to achieve literacy and numeracy. And this is, of course, is in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, and indeed the manifesto equally of the ruling party. So that opportunity first has to be provided. And then it goes in a continuum of lifelong learning. After basic literacy, you move to the next stage, probably post-literacy, and then mainstream into either the formal education sector or take the lifelong learning route of open distance learning, so that every student will have an opportunity to continue to learn. Okay. It is only then that actually our people will be empowered, and then they will have the potentials and the skills to actually live a very fruitful life that will lead to the development of our country.
Okay.
Yeah.
The lines are open now, and I hear Darlington is on the line from Port Harcourt. For information, if you're through with us, just go straight to the issue, forget greetings, and address the issue. Darlington, hello. Okay, we'll get back to him. So, Professor Anko.
There is something that has escaped our minds, both government and the citizens and so on. The question of getting everybody literate, everybody educated in this country is not only, it cannot be solved by only by providing the opportunities for people to get literate and start learning. Nigeria is a federation of how many states? 36 or 35. Now, even the statistic that we got from Professor Halabi at the beginning of 60-something, the differences in the states are so large that in some states you may find that maybe 30% or, but there are some states where you have about 70% or even more who are illiterate. And the provision of these opportunities and the facilities to rest on the state governments. And some of them are not really serious about it. They don't see the advantages of getting this. So it's a question of trying to see that the population where the illiteracy is high, to find out even why. There are some people who are opposed to anything having to do with literacy. And unless we find that out and try to attack that problem, then no matter how many provisions, how many facilities we provide, there are some who will just not. So these are some of the things that we have to look at. There are people who, some on a misconception of religion, they don't want this in Western education. And some don't think that it is even necessary. And if I like something, I will look for it. But if I don't like it, if you bring it in front of me, I will just leave it. And there are cases where even if you provide the facilities, the opportunities, there are people who will not take it. Now, I think it is very necessary, apart from providing the facilities of making the things possible to get education, we have to find out whether, who does not and why people don't. Some people don't want that thing. So it's something that I think we have to put a lot of emphasis on, more than the emphasis being given now by even governments and people. So if you find out why some of the people, some states are 70% illiterate, some are only 30% and so on. But then you find out why. It's not because they have never got the opportunity. It's just because some people don't even understand that concept of being literate in the Western sense. And some people think that it's against their religion and so on. So I think we have to address that problem. Find out where it is and address it, and it's only then that the whole country can move forward together.
Okay. Prof.
Yes, about the strategy for tackling illiteracy in this country, like you have asked, let me say that education, especially in this country, is beginning to lose its fame. You see, in a situation where people go to school, graduate from universities with university degrees, and do not find work to do, because of the large percentage of unemployment in the country, and because Nigerians have so far been spoiled by government, such that when you complete education, especially university education, you have a job. That was the starting point, and people grew to believe in that and to continue to want that, you know. So, and because of that, because the educational system is producing so many graduates, and that is saying that the educational system in this country is doing very well, because we are producing manpower at at all the stages of education, and we are producing specialized manpower as well. But there isn't ready-made jobs as there was in the past for these specialized graduates that we produce yearly. Therefore, there is need. Some people begin to think, why do I even need to go to school?
Okay, I think we should put on hold there. I'll get back to you. We have a caller from Shagamu.
Okay.
Trace from Shagamu. Hello.
Hello.
You're on to Tuesday Live.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yeah, my name is, I'm calling from Shagamu. Yeah, the topic that is on is so interesting, and I think it's all Nigerians that are there in the studio discussing it. We have a very serious issue concerning education in this country, and we have to go back to the drawing board. And the drawing board is this: the curriculum for education should be followed the way it should be. I'll give you an example. In Benue State, 90% of the secondary education and primary education is owned by missionaries. Today there is strike, tomorrow there is strike. Now, when you look at the statistics from 1970 to 1989, is dropping. Because the people that are there today, they don't have space, even in the federal parastatals or agencies, to work. After graduation, the governors will say this, the minister will say this. A lot of people are dropped out in school. So in the next generation that we are in today, we don't know what will happen. Just look at what is happening all over. International companies are closing down. If you don't school abroad, if you don't school from Harvard, Oxford, in Ghana, you are nobody to get a job in Nigeria. So somebody needs to tell the leadership of this country the truth of the real situation that is happening. And first of programs are really encouraging. You know, I'm about to go to sleep, but immediately I saw it, I said, no, let me not put off my chest. Let me try and call and contribute to my own quota. So the education system has really gone down, and the implications of what we are seeing. Look at the uprising of the Boko Haram, the Biafra, the militancy, the kidnapping. And when you look at these ages between 20 and 25, and some of them will tell you that they don't have access to school. Recently, the presidential amnesty program, some people were complaining that we are shortchanged. Some went to South Africa. It's an opportunity for the politicians to fix in their people. So we really have a national issue at hand. And when a society is not educated, what do you expect? So I think there should be a synergy. The people at the grassroots should really be focused on. Then when you go to school, you don't really have these issues today that we are having strike and order. My dad finished from this year 7, and the certificate shows that Northern Region Certificate of Education. He's a retired soldier. Today he's a pensioner. Some of us don't know whether we'll be a pensioner in this country. So there is a lot we need to do. We have exported our students. Go to we see Nigerians going out there every day to go and school in Cotonou and Ghana.
Okay. That's the caller from Shagamu. He raised a couple of issues going back to the drawing board. He gave a comparative analysis from 1970 to 1989. Let me stay on you. You were on before we. What can you say about what he did? Okay.
Well, he raised a couple of issues, like you have said, beginning with the curriculum and people not being educated, and many of them have become militants and Boko Haram and so on. Well, like I have said, I have started saying, people who do not see the reason to go to school, there are still people who don't see why, the reason why they should go to school in this country, because of all the issues that I have raised, especially the unemployment and so on. I have had situations when I went to the grassroots to mobilize and sensitize people, parents, to allow their children go to school, to put their children in school. And one of the mothers asked me at a point, that was a very sad experience. She said, Hajia, you have come to tell us to send our daughters and sons to school. What benefits are we going to reap by sending them to school? I said, oh, they will become educated, and when they become educated, they will become good citizens, and they will be better citizens in this country. They will help in developing the country and so on. And then she asked me, now we send them on errands, they hawk and bring money and food to this house. And so when they go to school, we are forfeiting that for schooling. And after schooling, there is nothing for them, because the son of this and that has completed schooling and he's still at home without work, and he has become too big to do the work that he was doing before he went to school.
Okay. We have another call on the line, Aderonke from Osun. Hello, Aderonke. Hello? You're on to Tuesday Live. It looks we missed that call there. Yeah. Okay, let me go straight on Professor Opio.
Maybe if I can just...
Okay, to conclude.
Yes. So we need, first of all, to go on very aggressive public enlightenment. To enlighten the people, those people who do not want to go to school, why they should go to school. And for those who go to school and still do not believe in schooling, they go to school because they had to go to school, and maybe because it is they see others going to school. We have to enlighten them on why they are in school. And also, we have to, everybody in the society, when I say we, I mean everyone in the society, irrespective of whatever you are, position, age, status, and so on. Everyone has to come on deck, has to put hands on deck to get to educate people around him or her. That is very important. At the grassroots level, we have to be able to educate one another. Like we said, there was this each one teach one program, which is saying that each one of us should teach one other person that is an illiterate. Each literate person should teach an illiterate person. If you can't, for any reason, then sponsor the teaching of that one illiterate. That is a very good program that was proposed.
Okay.
Also, governments may need to go on mass literacy campaign. Mass literacy campaigns are not only about teaching literacy to people. It is also about empowering people. It is also about giving opportunities to people to understand themselves. In such programs as focus group discussions with the people, getting to know themselves as a people and getting to know what are their problems as a people and how would they be able to address and find solutions to their problems.
Okay.
That is about mass education now, more than literacy.
Okay. Let's talk on Professor Powell.
Okay, in answering so many things taken together, when we talk about large numbers out of school or illiterate and so on, as he rightly said, there is a need to factionalize, to carry the analysis further. In this country, there is evidence of disparity, inequity at different levels. And the most glaring is the geographical inequity. As you move from one part of the country to another, the problem becomes more challenging.
We're just in the studio here, and you know this is a live program.
Yes, yes.
And Nigerians are listening.
Yes.
We went to the streets and we did a vox pop of Nigerians on illiteracy and its effect in the nation. What should the government do? What other standard of education in Nigeria? Let's take a listen to that, maybe to guide us properly.
You need to look at, most people are not aware of what they call pet fund. And secondly, ignorance. Most people don't know much on how to go about it. I'm pleading that the government itself to try and create something like free education to even to up to university standard.
I'm in total support of the federal government really looking at education. In this country, I think we should declare state of emergency in education when it comes to education. About 95% of uprising in Nigeria rise out of illiteracy and unemployment. Because definitely in the Northeast, what is the level of educated youths in that state? If they have something doing, they have a job, if they are employed, gainfully employed, somebody will not leave his office to want and go and join a terrorist group. If in the South, somebody will not leave his office, maybe he's working with the minister, or he's working with the oil company, or he's working for himself, will not want to leave his office and go and stay in the creeks to do militancy. In the East, about 85 to 90% of those youth who are on the streets looking for the actualization of Biafra are illiterate and unemployed. If they have jobs, they will not do that. So automatically, I am saying, in Nigeria, the Nigerian government should set out at least 45% of its total budget on education, and that will eradicate the problem we have. I support true federalism.
Education in Nigeria is very poor, I would say. The human capital indicators have shown that a lot of children are out of school, and the future of Nigeria for me is threatened by that. And for children to be educated, it's very important for children to be educated, I would say. And the government needs to provide more free education at the primary level, at the secondary level, and even the universities, they can provide loans for these children to be able to be educated. I don't know how effective the government will take my own idea, but for me it will work, because if you look at other countries, they have tried this method and it works. Education is a right, education is not a privilege. But in Nigeria it's viewed as a privilege because the government, the structures aren't there, so the government really needs to step up on that, making it a right and a law that children shouldn't be out of school at a certain age. Any child out of school, they should be traced to their parents, to their homes, to find out why. And I think people should be punished for that. And then if the government provides those structures, I'm sure it will work.
Those were reactions from Nigerians, and one or two tweets have come on the Twitter handle of the program, and this one comes from Aminu Ahmad. It says, among the implications of illiteracy are high rate of crime, drug abuse. We have mentioned that here. Governments at all levels must make primary and secondary education compulsory. Well, let's, so that we don't exhaust all the time to cover a couple of issues. Let us go to specific issues now. Massive funding is inevitable in all this. How do we confront it, given the huge challenges in terms of budgeting and what have you? Okay.
Well, if we look at funding first as resourcing, that is, we go beyond money.
I want to go around on that.
Yes, and the resource number one is the human will, and that's why we talk of mobilization. In those parts of the country that are relatively, I don't know, more advanced in Western education, it wasn't government funding that brought it about, but some group getting people interested so that they volunteered their resources they had, both in kind and in cash. And many families are still doing that. Secondly, the issue with Nigeria, as with many African countries, is not the quantum of funds, but what use we make of the funds. The funds have not been really directed at those things that will have a multiplier effect on the education system. If funds were directed as involving the people in policy making instead of mere policy imposition, this question of some people don't like it or some people want it in another way would have been taken care of, because they would have been part of the process of problem development. Secondly, if the available funding was channeled to developing teachers, developing teaching learning materials, developing infrastructure, instead of creating a large volume of overheads, there will be a more sustainable funding than this. And of course, if people are better educated and they're educated for employability and the economy is growing, you also find that supplementation to government funding will come from other sources.
Okay. Let me go to Professor Mola. You're too quiet here. What role parents?
Yes.
Parents have a role to play in all this?
Yes, parents are key. Parents in the olden days would give food to the children to take to school. They will pay the school fees at great personal costs. They will do everything to ensure that their children become educated. That's what we should be doing. We should let the children know that education is an investment. You invest in education because then you will yield, there will be dividends eventually. Communities must also be got involved in the process of building the nation through education. When those schools that we had in the past, when you find Ibadan Grammar School, this was a group of people who decided that their children had to be educated. Then they invited the Church Missionary Society. Even though it is called Ibadan Grammar School, like it's a Church Missionary Society, it's actually a community school. So all these communities took part. Let's go back to that time so that we'll be able, to get to the roots. Everybody involved, so that we don't target just government, because government is also made up of people, ordinary people. So all of us together, parents of all denominations, of all religions and social groups, will be mobilized to look at education. And let me conclude by saying, you see this illiteracy thing, once you invest in literacy, the newspaper proprietors will be able to get even better funding, because more people will be reading their newspapers. The farmers, they will be getting better yields. Then there will be better informed citizenry, and everybody will benefit from literacy, because that's the foundation for learning. Okay,
we're doing two segments today, and the next segment is on the imperative for national unity and cohesion. So quickly, I would say, let me start with Prof. What would you say are your closing comments regarding all what we have discussed?
Thank you very much. I think it is time for all Nigerians to say, let us stop quoting the statistics. I think it's not enough. What are we doing to actually halt the challenge? What are we doing to provide literacy education, at least to all Nigerians? Okay. For most stakeholders in the adult and non-formal education subsector of education, have the fundamental belief that now it is the time to address the illiteracy challenge in the country, considering the type of government that we have, people-oriented, poor people, that is concerned with checking insecurity, with curbing unemployment, and ensuring economic development and prosperity. And this can only come where substantial majority of citizens are actually literate. So, at the level of the National Commission for Mass Literacy, Adult and Non-Formal Education, we have been working with all stakeholders to actually advise government on what should be done. And we tried to develop a program or an operational plan for a national mass literacy program that will target 30 million citizens in the next 3 years. Okay. And it is in line with the ministerial strategic plan for the education sector. Okay. So the plan has been produced, and we have submitted the plan to the Honorable Minister for Education, and I'm optimistic that in no distant time the Honorable Minister will make a presentation or submission of this operational plan to the Federal Executive Council, and we all have the hope that actually the FEC will endorse the plan and fund it. Okay. It envisages, like I said, 10 million yearly in the next 3 years. Okay. Right. Then secondly, we also tried to develop a policy guideline for mass literacy, adult and non-formal education for the sector, to guide the sector. It is also ready. It has been accepted by the National Council for Education, and it has also been graciously endorsed by the Honorable Minister for Education. Okay. We have also developed a number of documents to guide the implementation of a national mass literacy program, like the communication strategy. We have also been able to review curriculum for basic and post literacy, and a number of primers for at least in the major Nigerian languages. I must say, I just have to hold you there because we don't have all the time. This segment is almost wrapping up. Right. Let me go to Professor Atu. Your last word on all this.
I'm bringing something that not everybody knows that just it is.
In a few words.
Yes, it is connected. The situation of the primary education now is such that it will bring more illiterates of the future. We are talking the children are the adults of the future. Now, what is happening is, of course, the documents that say that Nigeria has got the largest number of school children school age children who are not there. But there is somewhere said that 2/3 of some of the children that attend primary finish without learning anything. Okay. Which means that is going to be to exaggerate, to even make more of the problem of illiteracy even harder to tackle. Okay. So we have to while looking at the adult literacy, we have to look also at the actual formal education and also the children who are outside. I know one case when we were working on some education sometime, that in one state, I will not mention it, but 19,000 students took examination. The government paid for them to take the examination. And when the results came out, 17 students only passed.
Thank you very much. Let me hold you there.
So this is
Fatima, your last thoughts on this.
That is sad.
As we are wrapping up this session.
Yeah, of course. I want to say that it is an adult, it is a literate adult society that allows their children to go to school. Children. So you see, you have to have a literate adult to appreciate, understand, and support schooling of the children. That is very important that we know. And also, in addition to government efforts, as Professor Haledu has said, the community also need to be sensitized and mobilized to come on board, to get involved, to appreciate government's effort. In countries that develop, it is government do not do everything, especially education. So communities have to come on board and take this challenge, take the education of their neighbors, their relatives, as their own responsibility.
Thank you so much.
That is only
Let me take
we have literacy.
just your last thought.
Two quick points. The issue has already been raised with the people we're talking about. Literacy for what? And I think to tackle that, we need an approach that changes the content of literacy to issues of societal concern. So that what you used to have like town hall meetings and so on becomes, so that they begin to see the direct relevant. And secondly, I'm part of the strategic plan. Like I've been for strategic plan for 30 states in the Federation. But the problem in Nigeria has been, there's this game sport called hop, step, and jump. But in matters of education policy, it is hop, step, and the refusal to jump. So if we go ahead and implement,
last but not the least, before the director cuts me off, Professor, your last word before I sign off.
I think it is most important and imperative that we don't take learning in terms of just acquisition of knowledge. We must build the character. We must build faithfulness, integrity, absence of manipulation and marginalization. Nobility, integrity has to be woven into education. That's when you are truly educated in learning and character. Knowledge without character is going to be useless on the long run.
Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. We've been dwelling on the first segment of Tuesday Live today on illiteracy implication for national development. I believe if you have all the time, you will give us so much of the thoughts and solutions. I must tell you, thank you so much as we wrap up this segment. And it was, I believe Nigerians listen to you, and a lot of issues will be taken from there. That's it on this segment of Tuesday Live. When we return after the break, we shall be looking at the imperative for national unity and cohesion. Stay with us.
Together, no matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. Let's stop fighting each other. Let us live as one. It doesn't matter where you come from, your tribe or religion, man, woman or child. It doesn't matter who you are. Put Nigeria first. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together. How can we develop when we're always in crisis? Families have become refugees in their country. No matter our differences, show some understanding. No matter where you come from, no matter your religion, we are one. Let's live together.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Welcome back. The program once again is Tuesday Live. The first segment with this dwelt on illiteracy implication for national development. We are now on to the second segment, and it is on the imperative for national unity and cohesion. We'll sustain that discussion after this special backgrounder by Kemi Fakaye.
Section 2, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended says, Nigeria is one indivisible and indissoluble sovereign state to be known as the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This was the vision of the founding fathers of the nation Nigeria, with the firm belief that the socio-political entity in the amalgam of one Nigeria would successfully thrive and develop into a giant economy in the global economy. The transition of Nigeria from unitary to its present structure of 3 tiers of government has come a long way over the years, overcoming all the vagaries and exigencies of government with the unflinching desire to continue as an indivisible political entity. However, agitations in recent time put to question the issue of the operations of the 3-tier system of government as a federal structure.
Restructuring is good because environment is dynamic, people are dynamic, circumstances are changing. But that can only be good where it serves the purpose of our common good for national unity.
I think our nation should stay together. We have great, and I repeat, very, very great advantage having a great country like this in terms of population, in terms of human resources, in terms of mineral resources.
Federalism is being brought under close examination for its viability or otherwise for the nation to attain national goals and aspirations.
Restructuring means equity. Restructuring means unity. The restructuring that I dream of is a restructured system where an Abdullahi that is born in Aba, my hometown, becomes an indigene of that state.
Against the backdrop of the current agitations, there are other social issues like hate speech and corruption identified as the bane of the country's development.
So politicians should take the games easy and stop politics of desperation, politics of hate, all these hate speeches. Hate speeches leads to the crime against humanity. It leads to genocide, leads to war.
Observers are of the views that the present administration is handling the waves and tides in the challenges of governance very well, as the issue of the unity of the nation remains paramount as enshrined in the Constitution. Kemi Fakeye, NTA News.
The background there by Kemi Fakeye sets the tone for the second segment of Tuesday Live tonight, which is the imperative for national unity and cohesion. I also have a full house tonight. To sustain that, I have Ibrahim Modibo. Ibrahim Modibo is former National Director, Publicity, ANPP, journalist, former Assistant Editor, Newswatch, and currently Chairman Board of Editors, Verbatim Magazine. Thanks for joining me on Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
Honorable Chief Charles Ihe, Supervisory Councillor, Special Duties and Investments, AMAC Investment and Property Company. Thanks for joining us on.
Thank you.
Atena Shusokun, Analyst, Public Commentator and Coordinator, Buhari Friends Organization. Thanks for joining us on Tuesday Live.
Thank you so very
and
much.
All the way from Sokoto, joining us is the Director General, Voice of Nigeria, Osita Okechukwu. It's our pleasure to have you join us on Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. Well, it's in the public domain that agitations everywhere, restructure, marginalization, bickerings, balkanize. But ultimately, our founding fathers were aware of this, but they sustain one thing, that Nigeria remains indivisible, Nigeria remains indissoluble. Now, what are the implications for our national unity?
Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to discuss this issue of great importance. The issue of national unity is one area that cannot be compromised. I think Nigeria has come to stay. We've had crisis before, and that crisis should have been a lesson for us, irrespective of where we come from, our religious backgrounds, our tribal leanings, and ethnicity. Looking at Nigeria the way it is today, you will agree with me that God has never made a mistake in bringing us together. The more, the merrier. That is why today, in sub-Saharan Africa, west of Zambezi, south of Limpopo, there is no country that God has blessed magnanimously like Nigeria. The potentials that we have in this country is so magnanimous that almost every country in this world is looking at Nigeria with envy. Because one, we don't have natural disasters like hurricane, we don't have volcanoes, we don't have it, but we have the fertile land and we have every available resources that any nation could harness, tap, and also make a country very great. That's why today, when we look at, I tend to look at the book of Chinua Achebe in his problem of Nigeria. He said Nigeria is a country that God has wonderfully blessed, where victory is being snatched from the jaws. I mean, defeat is being snatched from the jaws of victory. We are a country God has blessed magnanimously. Instead of us to sit down, understand ourselves, and look at the country from the viewpoint of development as the largest single black nation in the world, people are calling for suppression and all these hate speeches. Who doesn't help the country? And I think I feel very sad. My heart bleeds when I see people talking of suppression, because I did my NYC, when I did my NYC in the Southeast, and honestly and sincerely, today, whenever I think of the Southeast, especially where I served, that was about over 32 years or 3 ago, I look at that place with nostalgia. It gives me a sense of belonging. I have a second home in that place. Up to today, I communicate with my people there. So you see, the beauty of harnessing together the potential of this country, bringing us together, and making Nigeria a great nation in this sub-Saharan Africa is one potential that God has blessed us, and we have to sustain it.
I like putting up this argument. We connect to disconnect, and we disconnect to connect. We fought the Civil War many years back, and the idol of that Civil War, late Odumegwu Ojukwu, one of the interviews he had before he died, he said, "I led the first one and I led it proudly. A second one is not necessary because lessons would have been learnt." So what lessons would you have learned from this?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And I'm glad for this invitation to discuss on national unity and integration. There is this statement that is credited to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where he said that those who are, beating the drums of war were those that were not born in 1967. There is another one that was credited to the Emir of Kano, where he said that those that were not born in 1967, some of them still want to fight their own war. And, you discover there are senses in these two. One is that for those who are agitating, the right people to discuss about Biafra, if there should be any, have not come out. These are younger ones, the younger generation that were not, many of them are illiterate anyway, because I am from the southeast. But the problem we are having there is that the people that were supposed to talk to them are not there for them. They are out of reach, they stay back in Abuja here, because everybody has a leader. And you discover that these boys, when you talk to them, they have sober reflections. In as much as I agree with them, yes, there is a right to, you have right to agitate, but not secession. So that you create an environment for dialogue. And at the same time, if you are having a toothache, it affects the whole part of the body. So as a leader, and a part of your body is having a stress, you need to attend to it so that it don't affect other parts of the body.
Okay. Well, we have differences. I'm happy at Shoes. You heard an organization that crisscrossed the entire length and breadth of Nigeria, the entire 6 geopolitical zones. Even if somebody advocated that it should be 6 geo-economic zones. Now, when can we de-emphasize our differences and build more towards enhancing the indivisibility of Nigeria?
Oh, thank you so much. Let me sound political first. I really have to appreciate the fact that my party, the APC, came with the symbol of broom. I will always emphasize on that. The meaning of that broom is a bunch is far better than a stick. And I want to appreciate the founding fathers of APC. And that is what we have to let Nigerians know, what that stands for. Together we stand, together and do it. Divided we cannot. Yes, cohesion is much, much better for us. When you look at both resources of materials and human, in the course of my research, I got to know why Nigeria used to be called Giants of Africa. And it's something that people need to research about. What informed the name Giants of Africa? Like I said, the population that we command in comparative politics, your population matters a lot. Manpower is one aspect you cannot throw it away. The international politics. You become so susceptible and vulnerable to any aggressive country that want to finish you. But when you are strong, one of the indices of that strength is population. And that population cuts across different socio-political.
But when you have the population and you cannot use it to unify yourself.
No, I'm trying to tell you the imperative of taking from that advantage. Yes, the essence of taking the population to our credit. That united we stand, like I said earlier, divided we fall. The moment you see Nigerians outside here, the problem is within here, in Nigeria. Outside Nigeria, an outside man is your brother immediately. An Igbo man, when you meet, you see happiness, you see unity. That spirit of oneness is there outside. While it is not here, it's because of politics, trivial politics, and sentiments that are baseless. And let me tell you something. I run a project like you said, and because of that, I traversed 36 states. I've been able to witness the different political culture in Nigeria. And so far, I can beat my chest to be a Nigerian. There is no place in Nigeria I went that I was not received well as a Nigerian. And therefore, in Buhari Friends Organization, which we founded from 5 years back now, the emphasis was not the president himself alone. Cohesion, that spirit of oneness, that's why we started prayer summit immediately after this administration. What are we doing to complement government efforts? By praying.
Okay, let's take this call from Abubakar in Kano. Thereafter, we'll go to Sokoto. Abubakar, hello Abubakar, you're welcome to Tuesday Live.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Hello. I have a question or comment on...
Could you please turn down the volume of your TV set and make your contribution?
I really appreciate the program. Right now I'm watching live, but I wanted to comment on the issue of national... Yes. Yes, my contribution is good.
We don't seem to hear you. Can you be audible?
Aggression.
I'm afraid we may not contribute that call. Well, I'll come back to you at issues, but I think we should go to Sokoto now, where Osita Okechukwu, Director General, Voice of Nigeria, is joining us from. DG, let me take you from the perspective of utterances made by politicians, utterances made by religious leaders, utterances made by traditional rulers and every socio-ethnic groups in the country. Most of the utterances tend to abuse or are an affront to the indivisibility of Nigeria. How do we come out of this?
Thank you very much. Let me, in line with what you asked, to say that there are national consensus on many issues, one of which is that most Nigerians have met. I've been in Sokoto now for about 1 day, and I've interacted around the city. Most Nigerians want a one united country. Most Nigerians want a bigger nation that will rear its head and be one of the leading nations of the earth. Most Nigerians agree as well that there's hunger in the land. Most Nigerians agree as well that there's gross unemployment. I think the issue is that the elders and the common people on the ground, they believe in a one indivisible nation. Even the politicians you mentioned, they are not also different from that. What I understand is that some of them are complaining, both in the north and in the south, that we, the government of the APC, that we should be more even in the distribution of amenities, in the appointment of offices, that even in the north, especially members of the APC, some of them are complaining that they are not being consulted before appointments are made. And some of them are saying that it's not well rationed. So those complaints did not mean that anybody wants Nigeria to go. I remember vividly in 1983, I was in Sokoto as well for a political campaign. And I'm surprised to know that the hotel where I'm staying was the hotel that was fresh then, in 1983, the Guinea Hotel. And I cast myself back. I'm looking for more other investment that was done more than what was done in 1983. But then we were campaigning that the MPN government then should go, but they don't know what they are doing. They are very corrupt. But looking backwards, both in the East, both in the Southwest, what have been done in that Second Republic, you start asking yourself, whether those who are today agitating for either secession or restructuring, whether they are not weaving duplicity of statecraft. Duplicity in the sense that the government in place are tackling some of those other fault lines, like hunger, gross unemployment, that led even to the Boko Haram, led most youths in the Southeast thinking that it's only in the Southeast that they have a gross unemployment. It's a shared calamity that because of corruption, which the current regime is tackling, it has led for a squandered opportunity of trying to lead us to huge infrastructure deficits where the railway lines are collapsed. We're coming back to that. So I think Nigerians believe actually that in spite of the hardship, we're better off as a United Nation. We're better off. It had been exhibited in different forums. The other few days ago when we won Zambia, it was jubilation across the country. So the fact that there are agitations does not mean that the majority of the Nigerian consensus is not for one Nigeria. So let us not deceive ourselves. Let us join in trying to join President Muhammadu Buhari in trying to close the infrastructure huge deficit. Because the infrastructure is part of why we do not have employment. It is one part of why we're hungry. And if we get out of that, Nigeria will be a real progressive and prosperous country where everybody will be happy.
Still on you, there's this opinion that feel or suggest that maybe because there are some lapses at the state and local government levels and so much attention has been shifted to the federal level, people have lost touch and lost confidence with the states and local government, and as such there's so much agitations for them to do. What can be done to rejig this?
I thank you very much for what you are saying. A lot of people do not even ask their councillor. They don't ask account from their councillor. They don't ask account from their state house of assembly or their governor. And most of the governors as well have not helped the democracy to grow. They are afraid to be accountable, most of them. And they have also not conducted free and fair local council elections. Because if they were conducting free and fair local council elections, the Nigerian people could have seen that the money going back to the local council cannot be taken for granted. And also, don't forget that Nigerian people also pay taxes at that level. They do not take their taxes as very serious. So everybody is looking to the oil resource and oil revenue that is shared every month, as if it is the only revenue we are making. I've been to Ogoroyo Dam. I've seen what the individual farmers are doing there in Sokoto State. Most of them are not depending on that revenue, but actually they have relied a lot of confidence on themselves with the input they are getting from the state and the federal government in improving their farming methods, the seedlings, the tractors and co. They are, as far as they are concerned, they are not looking the way those who are idle, agitating are doing. So I think the state and the local council should join the federal government in trying to improve our agricultural holdings. If we do that, a lot of people will be very busy, and if they are busy, they will have more in their hands to eat. They have more in their hands to pay school fees, to attend to their children, because they say that a hungry man is an angry man. So I think the state and the local council should join the federal government in trying to revolutionize our agriculture, as President Muhammadu Buhari had said. If you go to Kebbi as well, I was in Kebbi a few days ago, you'll be so enormous what you have seen there. You go back to the southern states as well, there's a lot of agricultural revolution going on. The traction, yes, cannot be noticed in a few years, but it is on record that we have a reduction of 30% in importation of rice, a staple food in Nigeria. If we had that under the 2.5 years of Muhammadu Buhari regime, it then means in the next 5 years, Nigeria might close the gap and even start exporting rice. And if that happens, we have saved a lot of money, we have put a lot of people at job, and it is only when our people are busy, because they say that the idle man is a devil's workshop. So every concerted effort should be made. The little money we have in our coffers should be invested in different areas like agriculture and solid minerals, so that one day we should know that the oil is going. And if it's going, we cannot stand by and go into hunger and blame each other. The places I've visited in Nigeria, I've seen that the common people are interacting freely. They share even some. I saw a woman going around in Sokoto collecting money from people for investment. And she's not doing it on tribal lines. She's doing it according to the...
We'll come back to you. Let's hold you there. Back to the studio here. Now, within the democratic governance process, everything that is being done, you look at the ward level, they call the political units. Before we get to the ward level, before we get to the local government level, before we get to the state level. And at the end of this, when these people are utilized, maybe for elections, when they should start seeing the dividends, good thing the 1999 Constitution has been amended by the National Assembly, and we hope and believe that what is being canvassed with autonomy at the local government level will happen. Now, the people who are supposed to feel it are not feeling it. Don't you think this is part of the problem?
Yeah, thank you very much, you see.
Okay, let's take this call from Christopher from Lagos. Christopher, welcome to Tuesday Live.
Good evening.
Hello, Christopher.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, we are listening to you.
Okay, the topic is quite interesting. And my contribution to this question is the need for Nigeria for all strata, the political class, to intellectual.
Wow. Well, there's a hall back there. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You see, having been the National Director of Publicity for ANPP for about 10 years, transversing across the country with President Muhammad Buhari, then our candidate, 2003, 2007, and beyond, I found out that this is a man whose decision to join politics was born out of his patriotic desire to positively respond to our generational challenges. And what are they? When he came in, he had about 3 fundamental issues. 1, to tame insecurity, to improve the economy, and also to fight corruption. Having done this, or in the process of doing this, you find out that we've been able to achieve major landmarks so far in this country. What has been done before was monumental. There was this corruption, there was this governance without focus, without direction. Maybe people who are just clamoring for political power without aggregating opinion as to what to do with power. They collect power, they are just at the crossroads not knowing what to do with power. Having done that, this president came with a sense of desire and sense of direction to improve the economy, fight corruption, place food on the tables of Nigerians. But unfortunately, he came and met a very, very devastating economy that could not allow him to sit down, focus, and also plan on how to execute some of his mandates. Now, if you look at the local government level and the state level, there hasn't been much that has been done in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of looking at the economy, in terms of even aggregating the youth, putting them together to make sure that they add value to national development. Now, the federal government cannot do it alone. Despite the fact that this man has been here, he came, met these challenges, and is ready to provide solutions, but yet...
Modibo, hold on. Let's take this call from Chilaka from Oshobo. Chilaka, you're on to Tuesday Live. Hello.
Okay, thank you, sir. What I want to contribute is this. Let me start from agriculture. Are you hearing me, sir?
Very well, go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Very well, go ahead.
Thank you. Let me start from agriculture. We are talking about agriculture everywhere. How do we encourage the farmers? Are you hearing me, sir?
Very well, just go ahead, we are listening.
We are talking of agriculture, we are talking of unemployment. Now, employment, there's no way...
Can you turn down the volume of your television set, please?
if we keep exporting our raw materials, without turning them into finished products,
wow,
by creating employment, we cannot achieve anything. Now, the farmers, how do you encourage farmers? You encourage farmers by making sure that before they go to the farm, they've already sold their products. Government should design a system whereby whatever you produce, government will buy it from you. Then encourage the farmers. Now, the young ones, how do you make the young ones to go to farm? If you don't make agriculture as attractive as oil station or the banking station, they can't go there. Are you telling me my father was a farmer, he cannot even pay school fees, I cannot see the family? You still expect me to go to farm? It's not possible. Now, coming to the unity of Nigeria, my brother, the way things are going, I am telling you, this is naked truth. We can never be one. If I'm in Oshobo as an Igbo man, I've lived here for 17 years. I cannot even contest for councillorship. I cannot contest for anything here. Then what makes us one? I go to the north, I cannot contest for any post there. What makes us one? So there's no fraternity. So let's stop deceiving ourselves. At 57, are we not old? If Nigeria is a human being, it's an old man, 57. Yet we are still forcing ourselves to stay together. There are a lot of things to be done. Let us tell ourselves to say the truth.
Thank you so much, Chilaka. Well, let me leave. Let me get to Ihe. I'll come back to you because the issues on ground now touches Ihe directly. You are more or less in Nigeria. We are talking about presidential system of government at the local government level, and you are supervisory councillor, special duties and investment, head of AMAC Investment and Property Company. What's the experience in AMAC? You guys are done with elections. How well are you plowing back the dividends to the people to have a feel of what AMAC is doing?
Thank you very much. AMAC as an area council is the #1 area council in Nigeria. And in AMAC, you will see all Nigerians present. And when you're talking about unity, I'm a symbol of unity because I'm an Igbo man.
Chilaka just said from Oshobo that it's not possible.
I'm an Igbo man from the southeast, and I'm occupying such position in Abuja Municipal Area Council. And presently today, the chairman of Abuja Municipal Area Council is an indigenous of FCT, a Gwandara by tribe, having an Igbo man from Anambra State as the vice chairman. The secretary of the council is an Hausa man, and the speaker of the council is a Gwari man from the FCT. And in the supervisory councillors, you have all the 6 geopolitical zones represented. Now, what we're talking about here is who is involved. The chairman of Abuja Municipal Area Council was somebody that has served in the area council. He knows the nook and crannies of the council. He was a former councillor, he was a former supervisory councillor, he was a former secretary of the council. So he knows the problem of the council. And he knows that by the status of the Abuja Municipal Area Council, you need to integrate every part of the country to give it that unifying nature.
Beyond integration, are the people in AMAC feeling the impact of the present AMAC administration in place?
Yes, we are. They
How?
have.
But this seems to be part of the problem.
Yes,
after elections,
when the administration came on board, the chairman of the council, Comrade A.A. Candido, brought in people from different sections of the society. He brought in people like me who are into business. He brought in the technocrats and built up his council. We were able to establish what they call AMAC marshals. It's a profit-oriented security outfit. Today they are on their own. Initially we started by funding them, but today they are on their own.
But ultimately what you're saying is that you are really involving the people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we are.
Okay, let's take this call from Mwachiku.
From Kaduna.
Mwachiku from Kaduna. Mwachiku, hello. You're on to Tuesday Live, NTA Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Morning.
I want to speak on national unity. I hope you are hearing me.
Go ahead, loud and clear. We are hearing you.
Okay. I want to speak on national unity. It is very, very important that Nigeria should remain together. It is the benefit of the present generation and future generation. At the same time, the entire black man on earth will be happy when we see a large black nation like Nigeria. But at the same time, there are challenges of being together. A situation whereby some people have some complaints, it is important that there should be an avenue for us to talk to ourselves so that unity can be guaranteed. My people say a proverb that you don't beat up a child and at the same time insist that the child will not cry. Allow the child to ventilate the pain. I know the soldier, using soldier and gun to solve every problem will not solve some of these problems. There are some of the problems that we need to talk to ourselves. Be you Igbo man, Hausa man, Yoruba man, Ishekri and Igala man, God has put us together.
Thank you very much. Well, I think we should do this. We don't have all the time. Thank you very much, Mwachiku. Let me go to Athanasius. We are almost coasting home on this program now. Speak to Nigerians. Whether we talk restructuring, bickering, we are all Nigerians. How best can we move forward?
Yes, let's go back to the concept, imperative of cohesion.
In a few words, we don't have all the time.
The imperative of cohesion, national unity. I want to look at international trade. I wish we have the time. Emphasis there is on comparative advantage. I wouldn't want to subscribe to the fact that God brought us together. No, it was God. Now look at Nigeria. I want to see the north with arable lands for food. What would that entail? Food security for us. And from the south side, we have oil. The man in the southwest is an economist. The Igbo man, I see him as a technically oriented person. If the north can produce food for food security, and you put all this together, going back to what I said earlier, comparative advantage, it will be another advantage. The essence of unity, you can't take it away. Because God, in his wisdom, make your place different from the other place. So how do you live? By cohesion. Tapping from what you couldn't have advantage. So in the north, like I said earlier, they are the food basket of this nation. You can't do without food, you will die. Am I right? Yeah. Then you have the technologies, and that I can give to the Igbos. Okay. They are sound very creative there, technically oriented.
I like your
then the southwest, sound economies to manage your economy, because you need people to manage no matter how much money you have if you don't have a good manager. So that's my understanding and the essence of unity. So you can't take it away.
Okay. Before we get back to Sokoto, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. That was one of the lines in the old national anthem.
Yes.
How do you make of this if you are talking to Nigerians?
Thank you. I don't believe that Nigeria is a country that should be divided. The more I said, the merrier. Let us look at what is happening today in Rwanda, Central African Republic. Nigeria with its population today, God forbid, if there is any crisis, where do you run to? Which country will be able to accommodate the kind of population we have, the kind of resources we have, the kind of manpower we have? Most of these countries, we find a country with 1 million, 7 million, 10 million people. Nigeria, 150 million, where do we go to? So it is better to jojo than to war. Though tribes and tongue may differ in brotherhood wisdom, I strongly believe that irrespective of all these challenges, there's no country in this world that is perfect. Every country, every nation has challenges facing the country or facing the nation. And therefore, the ability of us to tap our resources, both human and material resources, harness it together with the viewpoint of propelling the wheel of progress is what we have to channel our energies to. And in this circumstance, I want to commend President Muhammadu Buhari for being steadfast, for thinking and reasoning along the lines of reason, so that we harness and tap all the resources. As my brother Okon was saying, we have the food, the technologies, and the managers of the economy. When you put all this together, it gives you a very fantastic jollof rice of unity, cohesion, and purposeful leadership. Okay. I know Nigeria, God has blessed us abundantly. And God has never made a mistake, as I've rightly said, in putting us together because of our potentials for greatness. And I strongly believe that Nigeria today is being listened to in Committee of Nations because of our population, because of our intellect, because of our ability to remain together, to be purposeful, and then to be result-oriented. If we were to be in like these small countries, one day somebody can just come and overrun us, and then collect the oil, collect everybody, chase you away, and you're gone. So the more the merrier. Let us, as he said, the broom, when you put it together, you sweep. When you carry one broom or one stick or maybe one umbrella, can you sweep? You can't. Therefore, there is the need for us to act together, to reason together, and also move as a unified country for the general good of humanity and for the general good of Nigerians.
Okay, let's go back to Sokoto, where Sister Okechukwu is lending his thought on this conversation now. Now, the problem happens to be value mindset reorientation. For instance, there seems to be this problem of Nigerians, most Nigerians not being independent-minded towards the unity of Nigeria. If I'm a leader, I just speak to them and they just swiftly move to the next direction. What can we do to ensure that no matter what you tell an average Nigerian, that word, unity, remains sacrosanct?
Started by saying that the national consensus is that 80%, 90%, 98% want a united country. I want to address my brother from Oshobo, Chilaka. Why Chilaka cannot win an election in Oshobo is because of the law of proportion. In Lagos, where our brothers are large in number, today we have 2 members of the Federal House of Representatives from Lagos. They are in Abuja there, representing constituencies from Lagos. Those in Abuja, like here and Co, are there because of the law of proportion. Democracy is about population. If you are well concentrated in Oshobo, you can win an election. The Constitution of Nigeria did not say you cannot contest an election in Oshobo. As the president of Ohaneze had said, Chief John Nyawodo, that it's better for us to remain a bigger country that will have a say in international affairs, but that will need to be even in the distribution of amenities and appointments. But what some people do not even remember, because they mentioned that out of the 14 members of the NNPC board, that no Southeasterner is a member. But we don't know that when Mr. President comes from the Northwest, has only 1 member. And then Mr. President's zone, the Northwest, did not produce the Chief of Defense Staff, it did not produce the Chief of Army Staff, it did not produce the Chief of Air Staff, it did not produce the Chief of Naval Staff. So it is not as if Mr. President had worked out of his way to discriminate anybody. Now, I think that the issue of appointment is temporary and transient. And Mr. President is listening to the country. There will be amendment on the appointment. Let's join him in trying to close the infrastructure which deficit. Because it's because of lack of infrastructure that we're hungry. That's why he's going around the world trying to borrow money. Since we don't have much money in our treasury, he's borrowing money for the growth and progress of the country. Because if you do not have electricity, there's little you can do. If you don't have a good transportation system, there's little you can do. And I think Mr. President means well. You might say you want to restructure. Yes, it is important you restructure. But you are better restructured if you have this central infrastructure that only the Nigerian center can provide. Thank you very much.
Get back to you if we have all the time. We went to the streets, and I believe if that vox pop on the street about what Nigerians are saying towards a greater and stronger unity, if it is ready, we'll take it. But let me come back to the studio. Ihe, you are at the grassroots. How best can the people be mobilized to ensure that unity remains #1 charge, no matter what you tell them?
Yeah, with the recent happenings, with the hate speeches going around the country, we as a council saw that if it is allowed to go on, there will be problem. And with the peculiar case of the area council, the chairman in his infinite wisdom inaugurated a peace committee. The members of this peace committee are drawn from the traditional rulers of different ethnic groups and some stakeholders. They were mobilized to go and preach peace. And before now, before the 1st October quit notice by the Arewa youths, some of our people were trying to take their families home, you know, because they were afraid that there would be crisis. But because of the committees that were reaching out to the people, to the grassroots, every traditional ruler has to go back to his community and call his people and talk to them. And they saw the need for unity. And many of them stayed back.
So the situation is calm now.
Yeah, today the system is calm.
Let's go to the streets. National unity. What should the government do so as to ensure Nigeria become one indivisible entity? Let's get that vox pop. I'm not hearing. Really? Wow.
So what the government needs to do now is to bring the various ethnic nationalities to a round table. We need to begin to discuss further on our coexistence. We need to iron out some of those things that have made us to stay together, and some of those things that have made us to begin to speak from both sides of our mouth. We need to discuss them. You know, some people are telling you that what they want to discuss is restructuring. Some people are telling us and are saying that there's no need for restructuring. So what I think the government needs to do is, it's no longer funny for the government to say that they are not going to do this. Nigeria is one indispensable nation. When the various ethnic nationalities that make up the component of this unit are saying that they want to talk, we need to do this, we need to do that. Some are asking for fiscal federalism, some are asking for regional independence, and so on. So it is high time we need to sit down and begin to talk. I believe that is the only way we can keep this nation either as one or keep it as various federating units. That is what I think the government should do.
Religion is not a problem, but the fundamental thing is we Nigerians ourselves, because we are trying to be holier than thou in Nigeria. Even the people that brought this religion, they brought it, you know, when you go to their country, the way they practice their religion is not the way we are practicing it. We are doing as if we are even holier than people over there. When you go to Israel, people look at Israel as a Christian country. But even if we get to Israel, most Jews don't even believe in Christianity. They practice.
Well, that was the reaction from Nigerians on the need for national unity. Well, we've been dwelling on the issue, imperative for national unity and cohesion, but time will not allow us to continue. Let me quickly say from Sokoto, Osita Okechukwu, Director General, Voice of Nigeria. It was nice having you share your thought with us on Tuesday Live tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate.
And the full house here, I've had Ibrahim Modibo, former National Director of Publicity, ANPP, journalist, former assistant editor, Newswatch, and currently chairman, Board of Editors, Vet Property Magazine. Thanks for being on Tuesday Live.
Thank you very much.
And Honorable Chief Charles Ihe, Supervisory Councillor, Special Duties and Investment, Head of AMAC Investment and Property Company. Thanks for being on Tuesday Live.
Welcome.
And Atanashi Sokun, Coordinator of Friends of Buhari, Analyst and Public Contributor.
Thank you for having me here.
That's a wrap on Tuesday Live. I believe we dwelt on very thorny issues that will talk about the continuous sustenance of unity in Nigeria. On behalf of all of us, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.